There was a house at the end of the street that everyone in the neighborhood avoided. It was old and decrepit, with boarded-up windows and a crumbling exterior. But the true horror of the house lay not in its appearance, but in the presence of a mysterious figure who was said to reside within its walls. No one knew who or what the figure was, but everyone who had ever caught a glimpse of it spoke of an ominous dread that filled them. The figure was said to move in unnatural ways, its limbs twisting and contorting in impossible angles. Its face was never seen, hidden behind a dark hood or obscured by shadows. One day, a group of curious teenagers decided to explore the abandoned house. They crept past the boarded-up windows and broken door, their hearts pounding in their chests. As they made their way through the dusty interior, they heard a strange sound that seemed to be coming from deep within the house. It was a low, guttural growl that sent shivers down their spines. But their curiosity got the better of them, and they pressed on, determined to uncover the source of the sound. As they moved deeper into the house, the growling grew louder and more intense. And then, suddenly, the figure appeared before them. It was even more terrifying than they had imagined. Its limbs were twisted and gnarled, its face hidden behind a dark hood. And its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light that seemed to pierce their very souls. The teenagers tried to flee, but the figure was too fast. It chased them through the house, its growls echoing off the walls. They ran down the hallway, their hearts pounding in their chests, but the figure was always one step ahead of them. And then, suddenly, they found themselves in a room that seemed to be glowing with a strange, ethereal light. In the center of the room stood a statue of the figure, its features frozen in an expression of agony and despair. The teenagers felt a sudden sense of dread wash over them. They had stumbled upon something that they were not meant to see, and they knew that they were in grave danger. But before they could flee, the figure appeared once more. Its eyes glowed brighter than ever, and its twisted limbs seemed to grow even more distorted. And then, with a sudden burst of energy, it lunged at them. The teenagers tried to dodge out of the way, but its twisted limbs were too fast. And as they fell to the ground, they realized with horror that they were becoming twisted and distorted too. The figure had infected them with its malevolent energy, and they knew that they would never be the same again. They were doomed to spend eternity trapped within the walls of the house, twisted and contorted like the figure that had infected them. And as they screamed in terror, the figure disappeared once more into the shadows, its twisted laughter echoing through the empty halls of the abandoned house. One lone mother of one of the lost teens became obsessed, desperate to find out the secrets of the house, to know if there would be a way to bring her beloved lost child back to her. She became so distraught and so caught up in the darkness that everyone else who'd ever loved her left her. Even so, her quest to know of the darkness compelled her on. Asking questions, reading, researching, seeking. Here is what she discovered. The figure that haunts the abandoned house at the end of the street is known as the Twisted One. It is said to be the manifestation of all the pain and suffering that has taken place within the walls of the house over the years. Legend has it that the house was built on an ancient burial ground, and that the spirits of the dead were disturbed when the house was constructed. The spirits began to lash out, causing chaos and destruction within the house and tormenting anyone who dared to enter. Over time, the negative energy within the house began to coalesce into a single, malevolent entity. This entity was the Twisted One, a being made up of all the pain and suffering that had taken place within the house. The Twisted One exists to feed on negative emotions and to spread its malevolent energy to anyone who comes into contact with it. It has the ability to twist and contort the bodies of its victims, inflicting pain and suffering beyond measure. No one knows for sure how to rid the house of the Twisted One's presence, but many believe that it can only be destroyed by bringing peace to the spirits that were disturbed by the construction of the house. Others believe that the Twisted One will exist for all eternity, feeding on the pain and suffering of anyone who dares to enter its domain. As for the poor despondent mother, she gave herself over willingness to the darkness of the old house and the Twisted One, joining the other souls lost writing and wretched inside the dark and moldy walls.